Okay, the lawsuit, I've talked about it for like 3 days now. Everybody's talking about the lawsuit. What's so sad, if you Google Clemson football, you don't get Clemson football. You get Google's Clemson football is suing. Clemson is suing. I even messed that up. I'm so tired of even thinking about it now. ACC's countersuing, blah, 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 blah. Here's a thought. Forget the lawsuit for just a second. It's a big topic, but let's forget the lawsuit for just a second. Can we talk Clemson football? For the love of anything that is sacred, let's talk Clemson football. Welcome to Clemson Football Live. I am Brian. It's Thursday, March the 21st. Am I orange enough for you? I had a backwards hat on because I really didn't like how my hair looks, and I looked really bad, so I took that off. Hey, I hope you'll subscribe if you like what I'm doing. I hope you'll pass along. I started this channel just because my oldest told me, he said, hey, you like talking about college football on a serious note, you should start a regular channel, because everybody knows, and hopefully so. By the way, I'm getting dinged on my phone from ESPN. Anyway, everybody probably knows about Bobby Durkins. And so I was doing my whole comedy thing over there, and then I started this channel about a year and a half ago, year and 8 months ago. And it's not millions of people, but this channel is growing really fast, and I do appreciate everybody doing it. By the way, my old buddy Bobby Durkins, he put out a video yesterday. I have a link to that video. It's right below this video. Bobby Durkins is suing Clemson University. He is suing Clemson University. You can see him there with his favorite beer, Pabst Blue Ribbon, and his Bass Pro hat on. He said, and he's an idiot, by the way, he said that Clemson's lawsuit against the ACC encouraged him to file a lawsuit against Clemson. His grievance, he wants to be able to drink beer inside of Death Valley. So go check that out, and subscribe if you haven't subscribed over there. It's just pure stupidity. There's a lot of people who still believes he's real. Maybe this is the act and he is real. Who knows? Okay, so I'm 2 minutes, 45 seconds into this video, and I've just kind of rambled. Why? This lawsuit is a great topic for anyone who is on YouTube, who has a podcast. All the major Clemson media outlets are talking about it, as they should. They should. It's a great way to unearth different facts, because, as I've said multiple times, this whole lawsuit between, with Clemson and Florida State and anybody else, North Carolina, who would like to join, more and more things comes out that the ACC was trying to hide, or maybe a poor intention. All these different angles, basically. There's a lot of nuance here. There's a lot of details. But with that said, we are only 2 weeks away from Clemson's spring game. Yes, it's a glorified spring practice, but it's in Death Valley. We get to see the early enrollees like, Bryant Wesco and Sammy Brown, as long as they're not injured. Clemson hired Matt Luke, and he coached against Kentucky, but he'd been on campus for 3 weeks, and we did see some improvement in that short amount of time. We have Phil Maffa running things as the running back, and in a lot of ways, I'm not taking a shot at Cade right now. In fact, I've told a lot of people to lay off of Cade, or at least give him a chance. But Phil Maffa is really seen as maybe the leader on the offense, and rightfully so. He has tenure, and that tenure is not just tenure. It's great tenure, and a lot of people respect him because of what he's done and how he's done it. He's incredible. But right now, we're all sitting around wondering about the lawsuit. I'm wondering about it. The ACC countersues. We knew that was coming. We knew it. They're killing their own conference, and they don't care. But we have spring practice in 3 weeks. We have questions for Clemson University, for Clemson football for this season. We flipping open up with Georgia. And our eyes and our minds and our attention is on this very important lawsuit. So today, what I would like to do, and I could have done this better, I could have quickly got to the point, but I'm just going to I'm kind of like conversating with you, even though you may not be commenting back to me. But I just want us to take a moment and just look at the Clemson football season. There's a lot of people, I even looked at their schedule and so on. But today, I just want to talk about the schedule. Now, I'm not going to share it on my screen, but this is from FBS schedules. I just want to get us just in the mind of football. I just want us to think about the team. I want us to think about what we should be focusing on right now, and instead of having to focus on holding accountable the very conference who's supposed to be protecting us. That almost sounds like our government. That's another hot issue. We'll stay off of that one. Good luck on that with an election year. Roger Park says, "Hi, bud. Caught you this time." Yes, you did, Roger. Yes, you did. You see that little symbol beside Roger's name? He's a member. He is a member of the Clemson Football Live. Clemson Football Live. Thank you for being a supporter. Clemson's very first game is against Georgia. We know this. It's August the 31st. It's a neutral game, but it's in Atlanta. What? Athens is 45 plus minutes from Atlanta? I mean, in fact, I know that the last time these two teams played, Clemson and Georgia played in Charlotte. Newsflash for anyone who doesn't know this. Atlanta is still closer to Clemson than Charlotte is to Clemson. I know. So, I mean, it wasn't like Charlotte was a home game for Clemson. It really wasn't. But we opened it up against a team that is arguably the front runner for the national championship. We don't know how they'll perform. But I would tell you, love or hate Georgia, and they're like a toothache to me. I just can't get rid of. Can't put enough Orajel on it. You know? Georgia is the face of college football right now. And so you have to open up with that game. And as I have beat this dead horse, here we go, poor horse. It's decayed and everything. I wish that we had, especially after Matt Luke is, he's here. He's, get some games with he and his unit. I just really wish that we had an easier game. A couple of easier games. But the month of September, namely the first three games. Now, remember, there's the third week of the season, Clemson's off. So they play Georgia on the 31st. Then they play Appalachian State, who you have to take seriously, on September the 7th. Clemson's off on the 14th, and then NC State comes to town with their transfer portal quarterback, Grayson McCall, former Coastal Carolina quarterback Grayson McCall, who I'm a big fan of. I've watched the guy play live multiple times. Parker Henderson was at a game with my oldest son and myself. And I mean, the guy put on a show. I've seen him play more than that, more than just that game. He's a very talented guy. So I wish that the month of September was a little easier. But it's not. I will tell you, and I'll challenge your thought on this, and I ask for your reply. I see you there, Jay Earhart. I think Clemson versus UGA should be every year. Yeah. They're the two closest schools to one another that is a major football program. You could say, well, Brian, you just said Atlanta, which is Georgia Tech, is 45 minutes away from Athens, Georgia. No offense to Georgia Tech, and Brent Key's doing a better job there, but they're not a contender. Clemson and Georgia are definitely the major programs closest to one another. So that's what I mean by that statement. They should be playing every year. And then we have Stanford coming in on the 28th. Okay, Stanford has been struggling. David Shaw probably checked out 3 or 4 years ago before he was fired. I can't remember if he fired or if he just left. And I remember when they were dangerous and they had Christian McCaffrey, Andrew Luck. I can't remember whether, I think Andrew Luck was during the Shaw years. I don't think that he was there during the Harbaugh. Forgive me if I'm wrong there. Do your research, Brian. And then you play at Florida State, and we know what's going on there. I want to be very careful what I say about him because I'm not trying to attack anyone. But folks, I can see Jordan Travis playing Florida State, right? Playing for Florida State. I can see him in his mobility, in his arm, and his athleticism. But Florida State fans, and Florida State fans, let me tell you this. I told Tennessee fans this last year about Joe Milton. Joe Milton, I have heard, is a very nice guy, so I'm not attacking him. Heck, if I attacked him physically, he'd kill me. He's about 6'5", 6'6", 250. He can run like a gazelle. He can flick his wrist and throw a ball 90 yards. On paper, this guy should be one of the most dangerous human beings ever. Right? Here's the problem. He had a problem with decision-making play while he was out there on the field. And he could not control the touch on his passes. So, sure, he could throw a ball through a wall. But you don't need to do that when you're tossing a ball to someone 5 yards out. You'll kill them. The ball will bounce up off their pads, go straight up in the air, and it got intercepted. Guess what? That's a lot of what happened. Florida State fans, right now we're kind of chummy because of the lawsuit and everything. But I am telling you this, Florida State fans. DJ Uiagalelei is he is one of those guys that 1 minute he will throw a pass that will curl your toes. You go, wow, that's incredible. And the next minute, DJ will throw a pass that you're sitting there going, dude, where was he looking? Why did he do that? That is the ups and downs of DJU. I watched him play at Oregon State last year because I really like Jonathan Smith as a coach. He might be a terrible human being, I don't know. But as a coach, the guy can coach. Now he's at Michigan State, and I expect him in the next few years to have them rolling. But DJ did the same thing. He would throw a pass. I saw him throw a pass. There was one game, it was early on. It might have been against Utah. He threw a pass going off his back foot, a big no-no in the world of quarterbacks. His arm made up for it. I looked at my son. I was like, look at that. He's like, yeah, that's unbelievable. And then, next drive, he throws a pass. You're sitting there going, a guy with his ability and his experience shouldn't even think about making that play. And I'm just telling you, Florida State fans, that is going to be, you might be Clemson this year, but I'll tell you right now, you are going to be clenching your butt because you may have great playmakers who are coming in, or maybe some playmakers who stayed that, maybe Clemson's overlooking, other fan bases are overlooking. That's fine. You have to get the ball to them. And Jordan Travis was much better than what you realized. DJ and Jordan Travis are two different types of quarterbacks. So if you think that Mike Norvell is just going to scheme him into his plan, that's fine, but you can't scheme out poor passes or maybe a poor decision here and there. I'm not saying that DJ, I think that DJ has development issues. That's what I think. And I think it started at Clemson. And 1 year with Jonathan Smith can't fix it. Let's move on from that one. By the way, if you're joining me right now, you're in the middle of joining me. What's up, Philip Brister? It's good to see you. Roger Parks, I think Shaw stopped showing up to work and nobody noticed. Yeah, he had already checked out. a lot of people said. I'm not saying that he didn't care, but it's just you get to the point you just check out on a job. And Stanford's one of those jobs that if you do good, great, but if you don't and you do okay, you can kind of come in and be complacent. I'm also going to make a statement that's going to tick some people off here. I'm going to make a statement. I know, I promise you I don't do it on purpose. Okay, a few times I do it on purpose. Our Clemson Tiger basketball team is going to play tomorrow in Memphis, right? Is going to show they're going to show up in Memphis tomorrow, and they're playing what? New Mexico? This team has the talent to be a top 2 seed. I know they're number 6, but their last game they got drilled by Boston College. But that's not what I'm talking about. Brad Brownell, in my opinion, is one of the best basketball coaches in college basketball. Wait a second. Don't start typing. Let me finish what I'm going to say because this is going to turn really quick. But like David Shaw, Clemson, Brad Brownell is coaching at Clemson University. Whether we love Clemson or not, right? Whether we love Clemson or not, and we do, obviously. Either this or I'm going hunting, and I don't want to get shot in the forest. We know that Clemson is not historically a great basketball school. Oh, we had some good teams here and there. I'm not talking about good teams here and there. Duke, historically good. North Carolina, historically good. Kansas, historically good. Not Clemson. So, Brownell, who is extremely talented and can coach, he can become complacent. And if he heard that right now, he'd probably have a few choice words for me and tell me to go jump off a bridge or something like that. But is there any real expectation of Brad Brownell in Clemson basketball? Absolutely not. So that means, whether he means to or not, he, in fact, can become complacent and not even know it. As to where if he was at another school who had more expectation of their basketball team, how his performance, he wouldn't have made it to year 14. And by the way, him winning and getting to the ACC or getting to the NCAA tournament, he just bought himself another half decade at least. And he was only given a year extension, right? After last year's debacle of a season with another very talented team. I'll guarantee you if UConn's Danny Hurley had Clemson's basketball team last year, we went to the Elite Eight or something like that. Danny Hurley can coach. But it's easy to become complacent. I got all the way to hear from David Shaw. I think David Shaw is a great coach. I can't say great, but I think he's a good coach. But you're at Stanford. Nobody expects you to be great at Stanford. Because you can always go back to, well, you had to be a pretty smart character to get into Stanford. Yeah, I've been drinking these LaCroix just to get some, which I don't really drink. I don't drink regular soft drinks anyway. But it does help you kind of, Anyway, I'm going to shut up and move on. I don't even know where I was going there. By the way, if you're brand new here, I hope you subscribe. It is free, so it's not like inflation is going to eat you up. And by the way, if you do want to support on a monthly basis, it's $3 or $5 per month. There's 2 different tiers. It's just whether you want to support $3 or $5. And Roger Parks has done it. John Setton, who's normally in here, and he catches it afterwards. He's like, doggone it, Brian. He calls me Mr. Unpredictable. You are right, John. I would like to get to a place to where I'm every day at it's 10 o'clock every day or 11 o'clock every day. I do my thing, but transparently, I just kind of have to go with my schedule. So, if I get time, I do it. Roger Parks said 24 watching, only 4 thumbs up. Unless they don't have thumbs, Roger. Unless they don't. I hope you will hit the thumbs up. And so let's keep going. Just looking at the schedule, we have at Wake Forest. Folks, I'm going to tell you right now, I have no clue about how Wake Forest is going to be this year. I haven't dove into their team. Dave had a really bad year last year. Why? Sam Hartman's gone. The 2 prior years to that, especially 2 years before last year, Wake Forest was pretty doggone good. Talk about somebody who can coach. Dave Clawson can coach. Wake Forest is a very tough job. Philip Brister said, I liked it twice. Thank you, Philip. Roger Brown said, enjoying your insights. Well, thank you so much, Roger. Appreciate it. Silver Fox, DJ is the Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde of college football quarterbacks. I can agree with that because one moment, the guy, I'm telling you, folks, in the loss against South Carolina, and I know I shouldn't have brought that up, 2022, he threw a pass to Antonio Williams. It was a touchdown pass. Excuse me. Driving towards the hill. It was in the right corner of the end zone. He threw a pass that was so beautiful. The hang time on it was perfect. The spiral was perfect. And the way that it just dropped in at the last second. Folks, that was elite. That was not lucky. I've seen him throw some elite passes, and then the next minute I'm sitting there going, bro, what happened? If the guy could get around somebody who could properly develop him, I think that you would. I think things would have been different. Philip Brister, Peter Woods is going to have a game and a half versus DJ. Peter Woods is, and them moving him to end. Let's just talk about a couple of players right now. We've been talking. This is just kind of rando stuff right now. If you're joining me right now and you're like, I've never watched you before, but Brian, you didn't stay on some type of script. Folks, I have been talking about this lawsuit for the past 3 days. By the way, I've taken more scrutiny for talking about this lawsuit because I forgot some detail here or maybe this. You can always know more details, really. And I try to do that. At the same time, folks, I'm not going to comb through everything. Now, I did have Hunter Wright reach out to me. Let me look at this. I think it was Hunter Wright. And Hunter, I'm not talking about you. Hunter actually commented and said, hey, you might want to do a little more research on this, that, and the other. That was not a shot at you, sir. I do appreciate your comments. Yeah. I understand. I understand. That was not a shot towards you, but some people got really vile, and I just really didn't appreciate it. I know you're on the internet, but you don't have to be vile. Anyway, but I'm just ready to talk about something other than this lawsuit, folks. I'm now kind of questioning some things because I'm hearing there's infighting at North Carolina. There's people who wants to go after the ACC. There's other people who says don't go after the ACC, that there's nothing there. But see, I just want to talk about Clemson football today. And if it's just a random, if this is good therapy for you and only 16 people watches this video, okay, that's fine. I'm just tired of talking about the lawsuit as of right now. I will cover it. I'll continue to cover it, but I just want to talk football, right? Peter Woods going to defensive end. Is going to be. I think that could be a career changer for him. Because and I believe he will do incredible at it, you might be staring at one of the biggest menaces in college football. And then you have T.J. Parker. What was his nickname in high school? Was it the quarterback killer? I mean, these guys came out freshman year, and they were mixed in with Aurora and other guys like that. Tyler Davis, who had been around forever and ever and ever and ever. Folks, it looked like they were the tenured, experienced senior leadership out there. I mean, they're just that doggone good. And I really look forward to seeing what these guys do. And notice this too. I've talked about so much about the offensive deficiencies at Clemson football. But I've been challenging myself recently to really talk about the efficiency of the defense. And this is just one more gold star for the defense. These guys are going to come in And unless something happens, and God forbid there's injury, they're going to tear it up this year. I'm ready to see that. I really believe that. I look forward to seeing Sammy Brown. I'm really interested to see how much Sammy Brown is used. That is a really big question for me. We recruited in a lot of defensive backs. Of course, Wiggins is going to the NFL draft. I think he's going to be taken very high. And congrats to that young man. I just like Nate Wiggins. Folks, I've never met him. He might be a good guy. He might not be. I'm talking about his playability. And then he came out and that he continued to persevere after a lackluster performance against Wake Forest in 22. 22, he got his tail handed to him. Go back and watch that 2022 Wake Forest game at Wake Forest. He got his tail handed to him. And instead of getting all mad the guy came out and put on a clinic from that point on. And so I'm happy for him. But and I know Makuba's gone to Texas for whatever reason. But I know it's to be with family, and he's from that area, and he has this. All I'm going to say, folks, is Makuba, and I liked Amber, and I still like Andrew Makuba. But after his freshman season, he couldn't get past injury or whatever else was going on. His freshman campaign was his crescendo. So you can't shake injury. I get that. But if you're either staying injured or you're not, anyway, I'm just getting off of that. Good luck to him. I do wish him the very best. But we have a bunch of young guys. Khalil Barnes, AJ Terrell's brother, he was showing out. Avion, isn't that his name? Killing it. And then we have these folks. I'm telling you, the defensive side of the ball. And shout out to the coaches. Wes Goodwin. People could talk about, Wes Goodwin, he inherited a good thing. He did. And he didn't destroy it. So, we're what? We're going into year 3 of Wes Goodwin. You can't say really anything bad against him. Yeah, you could critique him about calling off the blitz against Florida State in the last 10 minutes of the game, which he shouldn't have done, and I guarantee you he knows he shouldn't have done that. The thing about Wes Goodwin is I see him as someone who sits down and strategically criticizes or critiques. Critiques is I know criticize and critique, they're of the same origin, blah, 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 but I'm saying critique is a little more structured than just negative criticism. Critiques his decisions and then makes adjustments. And I'm telling you, he and his coaching staff, and Nick Eason, they've done a fantastic job. And so that's good to hear. I want to give them a big shout out. Let's talk about Nolan Hauser for a second. Nolan Hauser, they say he's doing good. We know that last year, I'm not going after Robert Gunn. You know me, I try to be very careful with how I approach the players. Because there's someone's son. You go, well, the coaches are someone's son. That's true. A lot of them are much older, and they don't care what you and I think. They have enough money. They lay on their money. No, I'm not a person who believes money is everything. No. It can comfort the blow. You know it, and I know it. My printer is going off over here. But here's one of the things that I just want to say, folks. I know that I am gun shy. To feel okay with our kicking program after last year and what happened with Robert Gunn. Because Robert Gunn was doing great. Didn't somebody say he kicked like a 65-yard plus field goal in practice, and everybody was like, man, he's got a gun for a leg. And then it was just a bad season. It wasn't just a bad season for young Robert Gunn. It was a questionable season across the board for a lot of the personalities in the Clemson community. So At the end of the day, hold on one second. My wife is trying to get into the bonus room and it's locked. Maybe that's God's way of telling me that I need to end this live stream. I'll just make this quick. I know we're gun shy, right? We're gun shy to, you know what? I'm just going to go unlock it. What the crap? This is my live stream. If you're married, you know. All right. Here we go. It's unlocked. All right. Here we go. I normally keep my bonus room locked when I do this because my youngest, Bobby Durkins Jr., comes in here and he'll sit literally right there and go. Anyway. But the truth is, folks, is that we will only, and I know this is stating the obvious, we will only know what Nolan Hauser is going to do when he does it. But I just have a hard time believing, unless we have a development issue at the kicker position, that we are going to see two less than stellar kicking performances in a row. That's what I'm hoping. Do want to share this one thought. I told you that I was at the grocery store the other day and I ran into some really sweet people. They watched the show and they came over and they spoke to me and talked to them for a second. And they had just went to that. It was some type of event at the practice where the public could come out and see a practice and so on. So the father Ryan took his son Richard, little boy, took him to the practice, and he said, "Man, I'm telling you, the offensive line looked a lot better." And said just the energy that Matt Luke brought was just incredible. And said that the offensive line did in fact look better. So hearing that makes me feel good. I still always temper my expectations when a new coach comes in, unless he just bombs. For me, Garrett Riley, he had so many handicaps this year that you really don't know how well he could have been or how things could have been better. Or I guess what I'm trying to say is how to properly criticize him. Because you look at the offensive line, you know the problems there. The wide receivers, the questions there. And the wide receivers, you go back to, the offensive line is breaking down so quick. The wide receivers can't even go through their progressions until Cade's having to run. Well, Cade's not making the right reads, so you can't do that. There's all of these variables. It's like a moving math equation. I get it. To where you can't really say too much accurately. Say anything against Garrett Riley, but I will say that a lot of us probably thought that Garrett Riley's offense would have been a little better. I know how they won the last 5 games, and some people are taking that more as a painkiller or maybe some type of placebo. Interject whatever example you want to there. But I guess what I'm trying to say is when you look at Garrett Riley and you look at how coming into Clemson, everybody before that was like, well, hey, I know he just lost 65-7, 65-7 in the national championship, but you have to understand TCU doesn't have the good athletes that Clemson does. And then the other day I heard someone talking about, he had a little better athlete there at TCU than what he had overall. It's like, which is it, y'all? So it's really hard to evaluate Garrett Riley. It really, really is right now. You do have to give the man some time. You do have to understand that, hey, look, if your offensive line's not blocking for you, I don't care if it's from real life all the way down to PlayStation. If your offensive line is overwhelmed, the play is over. You better have Lamar Jackson back there, and even Lamar Jackson is going to be jogging over the sidelines going, look, it's nice to put on a show here and there, but I don't have time to throw the ball to a spot I know that a receiver is going to be there. Why? Because the play broke down, and it's breaking down a lot. So it will be interesting to see what Matt Luke has done. I think that the very worst case scenario for Clemson is the scenario that we have, and that is we open up with Georgia. So if I'm Georgia, I'm pinning my ears back and I'm going after Cade. The one thing that I will give you, and this is at the 36-minute mark of this video, and this is probably one of the best points of the video. I mean, my opinion on my video. Anyway, you know what I'm saying. I guess what I'm trying to say here is if the offensive line actually comes out and performs very well against Georgia, that might very well be a great encouragement, win or loss, win or lose, a great encouragement for the rest of the season. That's it. That could be it. If the offensive line comes out there and they do their thing, well, yeah. That could be the difference maker for the rest of the season, bar injury. So, well, folks, I talked a little bit about the football schedule. I do want to, let me go ahead and finish that out. After Wake Forest, we have Virginia. Then we're off again. By the way, Tony Elliott's going to get more time at Virginia. First, Virginia is just in a bad place. It's a tough place to coach at. And they're just going to give him more time there. He had to deal with all that terrible stuff that happened in the 2022 season. The 2023 season didn't look that great. He's got a lot. He's got a lot against him that they're going to give him more time. Transparently, I don't think that's going to end well either way. But I've been wrong before. Will Louisville be able to show up and do something different? I think that had they had a better quarterback last year, that could really that he wasn't terrible. I know he did what he did, and everybody's going to be like, what are you talking about, man? You know what I'm talking about when you go back and watch those performances, and the defense could start to lock down just a little bit. He didn't have that extra oomph to get over the hump. At Virginia Tech, they're slowly getting better. At Pittsburgh, that's a questionable game. You have the Citadel. You play South Carolina here in Death Valley. So, folks, here's what I want to encourage you to do. I encourage you to try to focus a little more on the football team. And as soon as I say that, something crazy will come out, and I'll have a video on the lawsuit. So you could say the very same thing to me. This is maybe even a little challenge to myself as well. We have football to play. And this lawsuit is a big deal, but I'll say this on the lawsuit. We need some more players involved. We need some more players involved to overwhelm them in the system because the lawsuits are expensive. But we have the spring game coming up, and let's just try to focus on some football, at least here and there. Ruby Ridge, great thing. Ruby Ridge says Cade has a bum leg. I haven't read that, but folks, I'm telling you that the lawsuit is covering up every bit of news you may see. May just see Christopher Vizina for the spring game. I've heard that Christopher Vizina has been improving. Folks, that's what we need. If Cade goes down, we're in bad shape. And then for Christopher Vizina as a player, we need him to step up for himself and do well, because I do want to throw this out there to you. This is kind of a negative, but I'll try to end on a high note. Just stick with me. Hope you hit the thumbs up. Hope you subscribe. It's free, blah, blah, blah. If Christopher Vizina doesn't pan out and Cade continues to struggle, that will be 3 consecutive 4+ star quarterbacks that has ended up being less than advertised. And by the law of numbers, that's not on them. Well, it could be partially on them, but overall, that's a development issue. How many more quarterbacks do you need to run through before you realize that maybe you are creating a system that is not developing quarterbacks? So anyway, let's land on a high note here. 2 weeks to spring practice, 1 o'clock, Death Valley. I'm going to try to be there. I've already talked to a bunch of people who says, yes, I'm going. They're kind of like me. I'm going to try to go, but I don't know if I'm going to get to make it. Yeah, we have this game, and it's going to be a good time. Hopefully it won't rain. It's already 70 plus degrees here in the upstate of South Carolina. Although a couple of mornings ago it was 32 degrees when I woke up. So you never know with the upstate of South Carolina. Big Red asked the question: are you going to comment on the tournament game post game? I don't know. Maybe I will. Most people shows up here just to hear me talk about football. A lot of them don't really care about basketball. But y'all let me know if you want me to try to at least make a comment on it. And maybe I will. But anyway, hope you'll subscribe. It is free. It's the easiest way to support the channel if you like what I'm doing. Dude, y'all, I'm just up here in my bonus room when I get time doing videos. And so if you appreciate that, I hope you'll subscribe. If you want to support the channel on a monthly basis, there is a join button below the video. $3 or $5. You won't even miss it coming out. Parker Henderson said, man, I don't even see it. I don't even notice it coming out of my bank account. So anyway, I do appreciate that. Folks, whether there's lawsuits going on, whether it's preseason, midseason, postseason, whether we're firing coaches, hiring coaches, whether we just lost a recruit or whether we sign Trevor Lawrence, it's always good to be a Tiger. Go Tigers.